Coming up on Telling the Odds, we give our first thoughts and overall impressions of the first episode of Book of Boba Fett. Star Wars is back, baby. It's back. What time is it, 3PO?
It is time for Telling the Odds.
Welcome back. Welcome, one and all, back
Welcome,
to the
everyone.
Telling the Odds podcast. Merry Christmas to you all as
Merry
well. I hope
Christmas,
you all
yeah.
had the merriest of Christmases. Michael, how was your Christmas?
Merriest of Life Days. I had a grand old time, yes.
That's great.
Grand old Christmas tradition, and yeah, it's been a good break,
have,
you know?
Do you have many Christmas traditions, or is it pretty standard?
Just, spend time with family, just the usual. No special Wookiee Life Day traditions where we transcend reality and go to a different plane of existence. Nothing special like that.
That's what I did. But,
Yeah, that's what you did.
To each his
I
own.
didn't do anything special like that. No,
I don't know. Maybe answer this question. Is that, when you guys have Christmas lunch, your family, is it like a course thing, or is it like everything's here, just come up and get it?
Big thing. Like maybe, in fact, even dessert was just kind of like directly afterwards. So yeah, it's kind of one big thing.
Because that's the thing is, and when it's, with my family, I have my own family that like lives in my house, and I have my extended family as well.
Yep.
And, we kind of alternate each year. Like, so for this year, for instance, it was at my extended family's house. Normally when we do it, it's just, it's all here. Come and get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, my extended family insists on doing this kind of like course thing where you can't get the meat
courses.
until you've had these like seafood entrees and like...
Okay, seafood entrees are pretty good, but...
yeah, sure, but
you're
I
not
also
thinking
want
that.
some freaking turkey. So, and I also think it's just...
No, I understand. I agree with you. I mean, I like seafood, but I agree. There's no reason to...
You don't want to have to wait. You don't have to wait
You can
on
choose what
Christmas
you
lunch.
like,
Just come up and just
if you want
come up and get what you
exclusively
want.
the main, just get exclusively the main. Or if you want exclusively the seafood, just that's what I do.
Well, that's the thing. I'm extremely carnivorous on Christmas. It's just it's all about the meat. It's all about the turkey. It's all about the lamb. Yeah.
But enough blabbering.
Telling
about
the Odds
it.
Christmas talk.
We got Star Wars to talk about. We
Yes.
have new Star Wars content.
Finally, we actually have some concrete shit to talk about.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It is. It is a Christmas miracle. So guys, we're going to round out 2021 with our last episode of the year.
This is going to be our last episode of the year.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, we did our trivia thing as kind of like a bookend for the year, which I hope you guys all really enjoyed. We had a blast filming that.
What a fun lot of shenanigans that was.
Yeah, But anyway, this is going to be our last episode of the year, chronologically.
Yep.
So, Book of Boba Fett, Michael.
Yeah.
We just watched it literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we went, let's record, let's watch it. Stop. All right, go upstairs.
Go right
record.
upstairs
Yeah,
and record, exactly. So basically what's going to happen here, guys, is just going to be a review and a discussion. That's going to be basically our main export.
I think probably... sorry,
I'm going to sneeze. You know when you have you're on the verge of sneezing and it goes up and down and you're kind of left in limbo as far as talking?
Caution headphone users.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more going to be like our first impressions, because this is like directly what we just saw, what we just think about it and whatnot. Presumably as we go down the line and as we've given a bit more time, maybe rewatched a couple of the episodes, and certainly when it's all finished and we give our overall thoughts, that will be more of a overarching review in comparison also to like other things we've seen and whatnot. But this is just straight up first opinions, first thoughts, what we liked, what we didn't like, and just what we thought.
Unless some kind of big story drops in Star Wars, this is going to be like our main export for the next few weeks and stuff like that. So might be a shorter show, but that's okay. Let's just get into our main thoughts first of all, Michael, because we, like you said, we literally just saw this episode about 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
I'm in love immediately.
Gosh, that was spectacular. I mean, didn't see too much. Not too much happened. But there's the feeling, the overall like vibe that the show is coming across. There's the vibe. It's Marbo.
It feels immediately different.
Really interesting. Really exciting.
It felt immediately different to what we were getting in the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian is it's very much a Western. All right, it's very much a Western. It's this one guy, making his way through the galaxy, right? And that's kind of Boba's catchphrage anyway. But
you could possibly, like Boba's not too different from that, but like the style of the show was very different. Like this, like so much of this episode. Would you say spoilers? We're going to talk about the episode. Probably watch it before and then
let's
come
clarify before we go any further.
Yeah.
Yes, this will be a spoiler discussion. We're not holding anything back.
Yeah.
Here.
Like so much of this episode focused on the backstory of Boba, mostly Return of the Jedi, after Return of the Jedi, between where we last saw him and where we saw him now.
Well, let's talk about a specific there. We saw him getting out of the Sarlacc.
Oh, yeah. So, even before that, we saw briefly scenes of him in Attack of the Clones, but in the Sarlacc
we saw
pit-
Camino. We saw Geonosis. That was awesome.
And so some like
Get him,
really,
Dad, get him.
really like fan favorite like moments, like right off the gate, just like bits we wanted to see. Like we saw him go into the Sarlacc pit. We knew that he'd gotten out of it at some point. Legends, we've seen him gotten out of it at some point. We wanted to know what happened, and we got that delivered perfectly.
We
like,
did.
A scene of him waking up in the Sarlacc pit, trying to burn his way out.
He basically burns himself out. Yeah, and he encounters a stormtrooper that's being.
Does.
And like you pointed out,
I was like, why is this stormtrooper?
there are no stormtroopers in the kind of Jabba's sail barge fight, so it lends itself to that idea that people who are in the Sarlacc pit get digested over thousands of years. So that stormtrooper's clearly been there for a while, and it's just kind of waiting his turn.
It was probably when in A New Hope when there was the slight occupation of Tatooine.
Yeah, or when they go, or when they chase after C-3PO and R2-D2's pod.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Look, sir, droids.
Yeah, when they were like walking around, one of them found their way into the great pits, the great sand dunes of whatever, and tripped and fell into the Sarlacc pit. And like, whoop. And then the other guy was just like walking.
I did love that there was attention to detail right there. In that, there's that moment where on the surface you see Boba's hand come up, obviously, right?
That's cool.
But then around it you see all the debris, and that's and fans like us know that that's Jabba's sail barge.
Exactly.
But, they don't have to put that stuff in, but they do because they know that we're going to know what it is.
I think there was even like one of the tentacles of like the Sarlacc pit, which is kind of lied out. So I think he slaughtered it on his way out. Like that's that millennia-old.
He burnt it from the inside out.
Probably last of its kind type Sarlacc. I mean, maybe we have. I don't know if we've seen other Sarlaccs before. Like massive, very ancient creature. It's dead now. Very dead.
So basically, this episode is kind of cut into cut in half. One half is kind of spent in present day as far as what Boba and Fennec are doing in the very early days of their dominion on Tatooine, but we're also getting to see his backstory as far as
seeing him
coming out of the Sarlacc to now.
As we saw the Jawas that took his armor, so that will probably lead into how. I mean, that's what we expected because previously what we knew about Boba Fett before we saw him in The Mandalorian was that some Jawas had his armor.
Yep.
And it got in the hands of what's his name?
Cobb Vanth.
Yep. And that's what happened. So here's we saw how his armor got taken by the Jawas, and now
and then he's taken by Tusken Raiders, but not just any Tusken Raiders. These there's like a new design.
Yeah. So I don't even know, were the first ones he was found by ones that we were familiar with, or were they even new design as well?
I don't. I mean, we've never seen that particular design for Tuskens before because it's basically just those kind of beige robes most of the time.
They were like, these ones red ones.
These ones had kind of like armor with staves, like sharp staves.
The gaffy sticks, they were a bit different. They had like sharp ones and a bit shorter.
Exactly.
They were really cool. I think the part with him and the Tuskens was probably the most interesting part of the episode for me. Like I really liked seeing this new part of Tusken culture. Seeing the women and the children,
the Tusken younglings. Yeah,
exactly.
I just love the fact that even with the Tuskens we've seen before. When the one that, women and the children too. The village that Anakin goes to in Attack of the Clones.
That looks
the huts,
familiar,
right?
yeah.
They live in those kind of huts, but these ones were kind of living in these
tents,
these like kind of tented, these tarped tent plate. It kind of looked like those tents that you can go glamping in, glamour camping. Those ones that are kind of like this massive
the
tarp over your head.
A-frame ones,
which was interesting, and I agree. I just love to see just different parts of the world we haven't seen before.
Exactly.
Or different variations of something we've already seen.
Like, I really liked the depth that was given to the Tuskens in the first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Like, I think, previously they've only ever been antagonists. And even in this, they were antagonists, but like kind of with more nuance to it. But like they actually worked with and collaborated with the Tusken Raiders in hunting the Krayt Dragon. And like things with that was really interesting. And I really like the Tuskens and learning about them because I mean, in like KOTOR, you like can either befriend or attack them and like learn about more of their culture and things like that. And so it's like really cool like to see that part of the Star Wars universe where we've only ever really seen like the Raiders or just kind of like like the villains be like seen in this new lights and explore the new cultures and aspects of them and like the way that their traditions works, like the way that they were like, I mean, much later on in the show, but when they're digging up the water or things like that. Like, I think that was a really interesting part of the episode that I really enjoyed. So
yeah, absolutely. So going back to what we're now seeing in present day, essentially after Boba wakes up because essentially we get the flashbacks whenever he's in the Bacta tank, which I think is a good way to structure. It's a good way to structure it.
Frame the parts of the episode that like show the backstory of it.
Because because when he comes out of it, he says to Fennec Shand, the dreams are back. You know, so essentially what's happening when we're seeing these flashbacks is we're seeing his dreams, because he's essentially just recounting what happened for us, which is an interesting way of going about it. An interesting.
I like that idea, like the way to frame it, because it's clearly set after The Mandalorian when we know it.
Yeah,
but we want to learn about that part of him, but it's like a fun way to be able to attach it to what's going on, especially if they possibly do tie in. So we might see a flashback about something that happened, which then ties into where we see him now. Like things like that could be interesting, but
absolutely. Yeah. I'm interested to see if this is going to be the way that the show is structured the entire time.
That's a good point.
It's kind of like, what it reminded me of? Have you seen Arrow?
Yeah, exactly. I was literally just thinking
it kind of reminded me of the way that Arrow, the CW Stephen Amell show, kind of did that, is that the entire show is basically split up between what's happening in present day, as well as showing us what happened
5 years earlier.
5 years prior.
Yeah, I think I'd be interested to know whether it would be the whole thing, because here we saw him. He's been out of the Sarlacc pit. He got stolen by the Jawa stole his gear, and he's been taken by the Tuskens. But he's already started to befriend him. And when we see him at the start of The Mandalorian season 2. He's in full Tusken armor. He's I've presumably been searching for his armor, his Mandalorian armor, and it's been there. Although it's 5 years, so it's 5. Isn't it 5 years?
Yeah, that's
5
true.
years prior. It's roughly that. I mean, we don't know how long he was in the Sarlacc pit for, / how long he was with the Tusken Raiders for. But I don't. If presumably, if he's starting to befriend the Tuskens, I don't know how much further they can go with the backstory, unless they do an arrow where they're he was with the Tuskens for 5 years, or he was on the island for 5 years, except when he wasn't for most of that time, when he was in Hong Kong and off the island.
For the Arrowverse fans, this is the episode for you. We're referencing that. Well, I know that we're going to get a little bit more of the flashback parts, because I remember there's a part in the trailer where he kind of walks in on a group of Jawas kind of in a room when he's in this kind of white when he's in nothing but this kind of white jumpsuit that we see him in the flashback. Yeah, so obviously we're going to get more around that time.
Yeah,
that's another thing we kind of chuckled at when we just see him lying in the sand in his white underoos that just go all around his body.
To be fair, that as goofy as it was, the attention to detail in that though, the part that you could see some of the clothes underneath, because obviously the Mandalorian armor, it's not going to burn through that. It's what's the metal?
Beskar.
The Beskar, exactly. It's not going to burn through that. But underneath that, the undergarments had parts of it that had been digested. Were starting to be digested away, and the skin was melted there. And I'm pretty sure I saw when he was being dragged away, I think there was a maggot crawling around there. So the way he's been burnt and kind of partially digested. I mean, only.
And that's something they pay attention to. Yeah. I mean, you could see in his face, he's not how he looked before. And
well, to be fair, we'd never seen Boba Fett's face before. Yeah. We'd only seen Jango Fett in the Attack of the Clones and Boba Fett as a kid. Yes. So maybe he always was bald and had no eyebrows and whatnot, but maybe not.
But yeah, so no, that's something that I definitely really, really liked. And that's just something that I appreciate they actually paid attention to, because in the present day, when they get into this kind of fight scene in the Tatooine city, which we'll get into more specifically in a minute, he's not at full strength.
No, he's clearly still healing.
Yeah, he's still healing. So there's a part where he kind of gets attacked, and then immediately he goes to his Gamorrean guards going, I need the back to tank, because he's still struggling. And I understand, you can understand why, but I also enjoy the fact that they're not making him this invincible machine, right? He's human.
Failing in his early attempts, but I mean, he's
human. He's getting a bit older. He's got some work to do. So
he's pretty badass in The Mandalorian, which is set prior to this.
For sure, yeah.
How many stormtroopers did he and Fennec Shand beat up? But they struggled with a couple of assassins on Tatooine. I mean, this really does not bode well for those stormtroopers there.
Yeah, I guess that's that. I mean, that's the thing. That's how shit the stormtroopers were. Is also, that even Boba Fett, slightly weakened, could eviscerate them.
However, they did use guns in that, Fennec Shand, and Boba Fett did do a number of it, with his stick or whatever. But they did use guns, and in the whole fight scene on Tatooine, which we'll get to, no, they never used guns. They were just constantly hitting each other. Just Fennec Shand, bring out a gun, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, well, let's talk about one particular use of a weapon in that particular fight scene that made us go, holy shit, is that part where one of the assassins is just trying to run away on one of the roofs, and Boba Fett shoots a missile at him, and he just blows up.
Yeah, because he first tries to use the missile when they got the shields up, but it bangs them all backwards. But when he uses it on the dude, you're that's why he's got the missiles. It just blows him up. Oh, that was a crazy.
That is why Vader says no disintegrations, because he has a reputation.
Disintegrations is more the fire, but it's the idea of if he is going after you, unless he wants it, he's probably not going to leave your body intact.
No, that's true.
He's not going to be like the Mandalorian where he's like, I can bring you in cold or I can bring you in warm. He's like, I can bring you in or I can bring in your dust. I can bring in your vapor.
That's great. So let's just talk more specifically about what Boba's doing on Tatooine at this time. Is essentially trying to establish him as this new crime lord, right? And he. So first of all, there's this tribute scene where it seems as though kind of dignitaries from different districts,
there was a Qualish there,
different areas, possibly different systems. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's all located on Tatooine. These people, as far as
suspect so.
Where they're coming from.
Because Jabba did not have his power that like he had majorly when like the Hutt ruled a bunch of the galaxy. I think most of the Hutt clan had kind of failed. So he was mostly ruling just Tatooine, I suspect, at the time. So unless, I think the implication being that he was kind of like the local crimes or whatnot at that area or things. But with the mayor was kind of like they're building a tension there.
Yeah, the mayor's kind of the mayor's kind of sidekick, I guess. I can't remember the particular word he used, but essentially the mayor's advisor. Let's call him the advisor. But yeah, you're right. We also saw an Aqualish. We saw a Trandoshan. We saw them essentially paying tribute to, Lord Fett, as they call him.
Exactly.
Which was interesting. And there's a part where the Trandoshan walks in, and then he says, "I used to work for him."
That guy.
Yeah, but when they
was that accent, that was atrocious. Trying to do New Zealand, it just went like completely off the walls.
But then when he was mentioning Trandoshan, when he started saying, "I used to work for him," I thought he was going to say, "I used to work with a Trandoshan," and that would tease Bosk.
He used to work for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think we're going to get Bosk in some fashion in this show. That'd be awesome. But
I mean, especially because they've been given a backstory in Clone Wars, it would be a missed opportunity not to have it, because can't have Aura Singh, she's dead.
No,
it would be nice to have Cad Bane, but we'll see what happens.
If we see Cad Bane, I will lose my shit.
Yeah, I mean, Bosk would be the one that makes the most sense. My favorite would be if, for some random reason, Forlorn Mulzaka showed up, because I randomly like them and they've like been in nothing. Yeah. But if anyone makes sense to show up like another bounty hunter or whatnot, it would probably be Bosk.
Yeah. I'd say Bosk, maybe Cad Bane, and maybe a few other people.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get some fun cameos along the way. We're still hoping.
Can I just say this is a complete pipe dream, and quite frankly, I do not think this will happen. But it's the crime area of the galaxy. Who knows? What would your reaction be if if you just heard in the distance, Boba, my old friend?
See, I don't know if
Hondo and Narcos, who we're talking about.
I don't know if Hondo is quite significant enough for this to be like a major player. He's more of like little cons that he runs, or little grifts and whatnot across the galaxy. He's not really a crime lord. I mean, he kind of was. He was like a crime boss a bit when he had a gang of pirates in Clone Wars, but ever since then he's been mostly like smaller scale things. I would love him to show up. I don't think he will.
No, he won't.
This also doesn't feel like the way that the tone that the show's building. It had a couple of small little quips with Fennec and Boba. Mostly, this tone was like they were building a kind of serious tone, building a kind of like an epic. Like there's a reason it's called the Book of Boba Fett. It's kind of building like an epic story of like his rise in power. I feel like
there was that moment when because obviously Boba's a crime lord, but he is new to this. That there's that part where he's essentially that mayor's advisor is essentially implying that they need to pay him tribute. And then Boba's just like, I'm the crime lord. He's supposed to pay me.
I don't understand. What do you mean you don't pay me?
That was pretty fun.
Can't compute.
So that was a awesome moment. And then right after that, we essentially go into him, going out into the city, going out into this kind of, we don't know what city this is specifically. We weren't sure if it was Mos Espa, whether it was somewhere else.
I think it was Mos Espa. She was, the person was, not she, it was a different guy. The person that we were told, the mayor, that was referenced, and presumably, I suspect, is the one who sent the assassins, was supposed to be the mayor of Mos Espa. So I assume so, but he visited like a local, it wasn't quite a...
We didn't really see a good extent of the area but that they were in, but they essentially go into this kind of...
just this, not a cantina, but like kind of like an establishment. There we go. Let's be vague.
Where we saw Max Rebo.
Okay, we really hope it's Max Rebo.
Round of applause for Max Rebo.
Let's go! It was a blue, I don't know his name, but dude playing the piano. It almost definitely...
Star Wars, the circle piano.
Yeah, It almost definitely was Max Rebo, and if it is, that is amazing.
We thought that he was dead.
Oh, I 100% thought he was dead at the Jabba Sail Barge.
Because there's that moment where it's weird that we're referencing something so, but the Lego Star Wars holiday special from last year. There's that moment where they welcome a portion of the Max Rebo band onto the Millennium Falcon, like it's Poe, like Lego Poe.
Exactly.
He goes, "What happened to the rest of the Max Rebo band?" And then they answer in the alien language, and he says, "Oh, my condolences."
Yeah, exactly.
So we assume, wait, did Max Rebo die?
Well, there was Max Rebo was in that, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I thought he was.
I only watched it once.
Yeah, I think Max Rebo was in that, but that's not
Okay, fair
that's
enough.
not canon.
Well,
so it
that
wasn't
explains why Droopy
confirmation.
McCool wasn't
Well,
there.
that's the sad thing. When he first showed up, and I think there was an Aqualish with him or whatever it was, whoever was the arrested.
There was
man. It was one other person.
What do you call the Jizwailers? The what species is Figrin Dan?
Bith.
Bith, thank you.
Yeah, it was a Bith.
Yeah, there was a Bith and there was Max Rebo.
Yes,
or the
that's-
Max Rebo
exactly.
species.
So there were those two. I was really hoping. Me and Jack were just sitting next to each other and be like,
Droopy,
"Please show us
Droopy,
Droopy, McCool.
Droopy."
Please show us Droopy McCool. We really want a Droopy McCool." We did not get that.
with his space clarinet.
He's probably dead. I suspect Max Rebo survived. Maybe he got hungry and went out for a bit to get something, and then when he came back, the barge was destroyed. Who knows?
Get that hashtag trending.
I suspect.
Droopy McCool lives.
Yes, we want Droopy McCool. Yeah.
So anyway, we go into this kind of this establishment tavern place, and they essentially just all they want to do is kind of make themselves known because they mention Jabba rarely came out of his castle.
And when he did, they lifted him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas Rebo like to walk on 2 feet.
Yep. So and they mentioned that. That's something I really love. And let's just get this right off the gate. Tamara Morrison is having a lot of fun, and
this
he's
is great
owning
in
the
the
show
role.
so far.
Fennec Shan's quite fun as well, but Tamara Morrison stand out. He is just carrying so many of the scenes.
When you think how long he's been
holding
involved,
it pretty,
he's been in Star Wars since 2002. 19
Exactly.
years. So he's a
great transition from like playing Jango Fett, who's pretty similar in character, but like Boba Fett's kind of got a lot more weight and a lot more history towards him.
He's only ever played Django and the clones. So
Yeah, exactly.
and not even for very long. You don't even see Django as the clones for very long. It's just
Although, if he
those
plays-
few shots with Cody.
If he plays each individual clone, do you like times it by like a million clones?
We've seen like a million Tamaras.
He's been like in for a million minutes of Star Wars or something.
Exactly. And we would. The Clone Wars is D. Bradley Baker, but whatever. So, and essentially after they, have this little correspondence with Jennifer Beals kind of Twi'lek character, which is, interesting. I would like to see how that kind of relationship develops.
Yeah, what's happening there? Because
just what his rapport with the Tatooine public becomes, because he mentions Jabba ruled with fear, I intend to rule with respect. So it was obvious that Jabba was kind of like this feared crime lord that you don't screw with, but there's going to be kind of an element of you should respect and kind of fear Boba Fett, but you can't not go and talk to him.
Exactly. I think also the idea that we were mentioning is that he's still very early. And also, it kind of seems like he's only got like 3 employees or 4 employees at this point if you count a droid.
Exactly.
And like when he was walking around Mos Espa, I'm like, there's a lot of people here. He's claiming to be like in charge of this area now, and he's currently got 1 assassin and 2 Gamorreans with him. If there's any opportunity to like attack him before he like starts to like actually build up like a a repertoire of people working for him and like actual someone to be afraid of, it's now, which is why they send assassins after him.
Yeah, in Jabba's palace, in Return of the Jedi, for instance, it's littered with people. Whether it's dancers, whether it's
There's a
people
bunch
who
of
are just
bounty hunters waiting around to get a
hunters,
job.
people just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's pretty empty at the moment. So
Yeah.
I'll be interested.
You get the singing. You got the what's her name?
Oh God,
Slice Noodles?
Slice Noodles.
Yeah,
Exactly. I'll be interested to see what Boba's palace looks like at the end of this show. But for right now, it's pretty empty, and because that's what the show's going to be. I assume is that we're going to see him build his empire.
I suspect. Yeah.
And that's the reason that one of the first things we brought up is the fact that the Mandalorian feels like a Western. It feels like a Kurosawa inspired thing, but this definitely feels like a Sopranos, Goodfellas type story, like a crime syndicate, crime lord type story,
we're
which
seeing
is
him in
exactly
early
what I
days.
wanted to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he kind of builds up the and tries to like kind of rebuild the legacy of like Jabba's crime syndicate now after like other people like starting to like kind of vie for his power, or the way he got the Mandalorian, the Gamorreans, where he's like, you were loyal to your previous bosses. If I spare your life, will you be loyal to me?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because that you got a taste of. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We talked about how we had never really seen what Boba Fett was like as far as like his character, as far as his personality, and as far as how honorable he is.
Yeah,
because
he values loyalty.
Exactly. We know that he was a bounty hunter and kind of a mercenary, but Jango Fett was a very honorable man. Hondo said that in Clone Wars. So I'm loving these parts that, in Mandalorian we saw, I said that we'd give you the kid if you gave us the armor. We have the armor, but you don't have the kid yet, so we're going to help you get him back. And we saw more of that in this when he says, yes, you, what is it? You kind of, you ran or whatever. They tried to, do whatever. But they said, if I spare your life, would you be loyal to me? And they kneel and he gives them a chance, which is awesome. I love those moments.
Exactly.
It just builds up Boba Fett as not just this awesome character that we've loved for 30 years, but more as a person.
And as like the idea of an honorable
individualized
warrior.
character. Yeah.
He's had the backstory that we've learned, that he has the Mandalorian armor. He's got the history,
Yeah.
presumably under Jango Fett, who's now been like retconned and then retconned again to be a Mandalorian, to be like from whatnot. So he presumably was taught the Mandalorian ways of honor and like being a soldier. So a warrior. So he kind of has that history, and presumably he'll like bring that into the way he rules, as opposed to Jabba, who is like, you slightly insulted me. Let's open the Rancor pit.
Exactly.
Like, presumably he's going to rule a slightly
Like
different way.
all that Green Twilight did was like tug on the what's it called? The chains a
chain,
little bit,
yeah.
and then she died.
Exactly.
Boba wouldn't do that.
Which it was interesting because I like the joke about they needed to get a protocol droid, which was quite funny. But the droid that they did have there, who was like introducing them, was like, "This is a bad idea. What are you doing?"
That's true.
That was quite funny. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is that he that droid was kind of recommending that he either kill them or torture them publicly.
It's like, how would you like me to torture them? It's like, I haven't tortured them.
Because that's the funny thing is
sorry, does not compute.
Isn't that droid that type of droid? That's like a torture droid, right? The HKs?
That was, I believe, that was the droid that was was in charge of the.
But that particular make of droid has mostly been used in like torture / interrogation scenes.
I think it's only been used once.
Because there's that in Return of the Jedi
where it was torturing the Gonk droid.
Yeah, there's also that moment in Clone Wars, that episode where Cad Bane tries to get the Senate building plans out of R2-D2 and C-3PO.
He was there as
in
well.
that particular moment, that same make of droid is doing the torturing.
I mean, maybe it was the same droid, but I love the idea that it's just like you got the droids that were designed for protocol. The ones that Gonk droids were basically batteries. Astromechs are like engineers and co-pilots.
Yep.
This droid we designed. Yeah, this is a torture droid. Like, one, why does it need to specialize in torture? Like, how specific is that? And two, what is going on with the Star Wars universe that a company can just be like, "Hi, look at our brand new Torture 2000. It's really good at helping you torture your enemies."
There you go. Oh my God, Michael. It's hilarious. What was that thing that you made me laugh about really early on? It was that part where,
Before we started?
When we were watching the show, there's something that made me burst out laughing because it was kind of like a reference to like a prequel meme or something.
Oh, it was probably to do with when they were like showing the Tusken Raiders, and I'm like, not the women, it was the women and the children too.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly. When in doubt, reference Anakin's homicidal tendencies.
That's the thing, because I mentioned, because there's a child Tusken. Right?
Yeah, which they were cool. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
It just shows up. They just start hitting him,
and that's all I said. And you go, the women and the children.
Yeah,
that's like, it's just my what's it called? Just, it's my trigger.
Yeah.
If you even say like
reaction,
a slight version of that line, especially when you do it, I burst out laughing.
I just love how he's there, and they're just like, bang, bang. They just start hitting him a bit.
So yeah, we basically covered everything that happens in the present day.
But we didn't cover.
Yes.
So there was a Rodian there who was captured with, who was kind of interesting. How he like kind of, when he tried to like, "Hey, do you want me to undo your binds?" It's like, he like called in all of the bunch of them. But like, when they were out like digging for the water,
that's what I was about to get into. Yeah,
what did they uncover? But at first we thought it was like, what is this? Like a crate dragon skeleton?
We thought it was a crate dragon,
or like,
but then you thought
a
it was
baby one.
You thought it was a skeleton.
I thought he was like uncovering a skeleton.
Yeah, and then I was like, that might be something that's still alive. And then right after I said that, it burst out of the sand.
Yeah, and it was a new creature, I suspect, that we haven't seen.
I love the
really
look of this thing.
design.
By the way,
the face was kind of like a fishish design. It was like that, but it had four arms and then the two legs. But then also it like leant forward and used the two arms as like forward legs, kind of like a centaur, where it was like a body forward and then arms like that. It was really interesting.
That's what I love about when kind of creature design, when production design in Star Wars is done really, really well, is because you not only make it look cool, but as far as the things you've included, they actually have kind of behavioral adaptation features to what you've included, because that's absolutely what would happen with an actual living thing out in nature. You know, you've actually given some actual biological thought as far as creating these creatures, which is just something that I'm really appreciative that they do. That's the stuff that Stuart Freeborn, the original creature designer, a lot of effort because he created Yoda, the look for Yoda and stuff like that. But that's the stuff that they would do in the original trilogy because they would not only make it look cool, but think, okay, so if this creature was in a sand area, what would it need? You know, it's just
I really like the idea of exploring more biodiversity of Tatooine. Like, we got to see the Krayt Dragon in season 2 Mandalorian, and it looked spectacular. We like seeing what like the banthas there. There's like other creatures like that. But I think learning more about like Tatooine as like as much as it's kind of like a joke that we see Tatooine in almost every Star Wars story, it's like the most visited planet. We don't really know too much about it. We know like 3 cities, and they're pretty similar, except like one's a spaceport, one's like a small town. We know like one native like indigenous species, well, like the Jawas that live there, and a couple of like moisture farms, or what other people do. But like, there's really only like 2 other like banthas are like from there, and like Krayt Dragons there. Like, it's fun exploring more about the.
I mean, when you think about how many species a typical planet has
as well, but
if you think about how many different species a typical planet has.
Well, like
we've only scratched the surface.
Like how many different animals there are on Earth, and that's just Earth. Like an individual planet which is completely biodiverse from other places. Like if you look at Australia was like almost completely isolated from other places in the world. And because of that, we've got such biodiversity when compared to rest of the Earth. Like Tatooine is basically in Australia, like in the outer rim, like a desert planet. Like it's kind of like that.
I love it. Let's compare Earth to the entire Star Wars galaxy.
It's gonna have like completely different like creatures and like aliens and stuff like that. And so exploring like the idea of like fun like creatures, especially I love the idea of like really dangerous planets where it's like really hard to survive, like in the desert, the dune seas of Tatooine. Not only is it like hard to find water and like food, but also every so often you'll dig up a giant like creature that's gonna like rip your head off.
I know. That's the part that we were kind of this kid Tusken kind of takes Boba and this Rodion on like a little walk, and they end up seeing
and the dog.
And they end up seeing this like moisture farm get raided. Which is interesting because
I wonder if that will be addressed further.
Yeah, because it didn't really because that part of it didn't really amount to anything. So I assume that if the writing's done well, that will equate to some kind of story point eventually. Because that's something that I'm really interested to see more of in Kenobi. These ideas that we never see it happen to the Lars homestead, but
presumably we're gonna have like 2 separate Star Wars shows entirely set on Tatooine. This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, well, the concept art that we've already gotten for Obi-Wan definitely alludes to the fact that he'll be going off. And that's the thing, is because the only footage that we've seen, the Boba Fett trailers,
we pretty much
a lot of it was seen in this episode.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we've got. Is this an 8-episode show?
Probably.
I think so. Yeah. I love the fact that we've got another 7 episodes to go, and we've basically seen everything already.
Yeah, everything we think we've seen. Yeah,
exactly. We're basically 7 episodes of just uncharted territory, going in completely blind, and we know that we don't get TV promos and stuff for these episodes, so we're going to be going in completely blind.
The rest of it could completely just be politics on Naboo, and we'd never know.
We'd never know. Yeah,
we'd never know.
I would like to go. I would like to see Naboo again.
I would. Probably not in this show.
Not in this show, no. But I'm interested to see what happened to it, because it definitely wouldn't have been treated badly, because it's Palpatine's homeworld.
Yeah.
So during the reign of the Empire, it would have been well treated.
I mean, side tangent here, but after a project, what's it called, happened, where Palpatine died and then destroyed the Empire, one of the things he did right at the start, where I can't remember Project Cinder, Operation
Cinder, yeah.
Yeah, one of the first things that happened is he activated a bunch of weather machines above Naboo and basically tried to destroy the planet through like storms and tornadoes and whatnot. So maybe he wasn't the biggest fan.
So have you seen the movie Geostorm? He essentially tried to do he tried to pull a geostorm on Naboo.
He tried to geostorm Naboo. Exactly.
So yeah, that was an interesting part. I'm curious if that'll come back.
Yeah, so I was just going to mess, because like the way they dealt, like the way they were attacking the homestead, they burnt them. I'm interested to know whether they're going to kind of retcon the way that. Oh, actually, no. I was going to say that like they retcon the way that Tusken Raiders did, but no. The whole idea was that stormtroopers killed the Lars, but then they pretended it was Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
So like we've never really seen the Tusken Raiders be too savage, really. Like
No, that's what I'm interested to see.
They attack Luke, but they don't kill him, or like they attempt to attack him.
Luke was kind of like on their land. So.
Yeah. Also, with Anakin, they steal Shmi, but like again, like you know, they're indigenous to there, and like they took Shmi, but like I don't know, like I feel like it'll be interesting to kind of see like another side of the Tusken Raiders, and like and what they're bringing up with these other raiders that we see on Tatooine.
Yeah,
they
so
did
that's-
like a little symbol, so presumably there's going to be like maybe an organization there. Or,
Yeah, exactly.
I
You
didn't
know-
recognize the symbol, but maybe like as soon as we go on Twitter, we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's this symbol that we all would have recognized, and I'm like, oh, I'm such a dummy.
Yeah, no, we recognize that right off the bat.
Try, exactly.
Yeah.
Damn it, we just wrote proof that we didn't know what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, maybe we'll see more of that in Kenobi, because
Yeah,
you know,
that could be fun, tying them together.
Because there'll be moments where obviously you need to see, we might see Obi-Wan defend the Lars homestead a few times and protect Luke from raiders, that kind of thing. You know, I think that was one of the first things that they mentioned when this was a little while ago now, when I think Deborah Chow was in an interview and she gave a very kind of cryptic and very brief synopsis for the show. She essentially said, you know, this is a hostile wasteland. There are raiders that prey on these moisture farms and stuff like that.
Signs on the buildings.
Yeah, so the fact that she would mention that leads me to believe that we will see some of it
I think
in the
you might be
Kenobi
right.
show.
Because if we don't see these raiders or whatnot come back in any,
They don't even have to be
significant
Tusken
way-
Raiders. Yeah.
yeah, or like them. I think that you might be right. It might just be like instead. Well, as much as it would be like kind of lazy writing to be like, oh yeah, they just never show up again. It could be that they're setting up a potential plot point for Kenobi. Who knows? Because that's the thing. They are like on the same planet, presumably around the same area, but they're like decades apart, right? Because Kenobi's set in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and this is set post Return of the Jedi. So like there's a bit of time.
There's almost going to be
10 years?
25 years in between.
Oh, yeah, further.
because you know it's set.
Well, yeah,
because
it would depend on
Obi-Wan
when-
is set 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So
Yeah.
there's 9 years before A New Hope. There's 4 years that's the original trilogy. That's 13 years plus another 5 years. So 18 years
18
between the
years.
events of what we're seeing in Kenobi and what we're seeing now. Yeah, so that's interesting.
So there'll be a bit of a time jump there.
Yeah,
but-
so essentially after Fennec Shan chases after these kind of marauders and stuff like that, that's the last of what we see in the present day.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the flashback, and then he fights this four-armed creature,
Yep.
kills it. They take it, the kind of...
the kid just running around.
I liked
like,
that
carrying
they kind of, that this kid kind of returns with its head as kind of like a Tusken
trophy,
Raider
yeah.
rite of passage kind of thing.
I also love how when he was like handed it to people and was showing them, he grabbed his gaffy stick and was doing like that, like recreating the way he choked the beast.
Yeah,
It was
I
quite-
love those
he was
like
so proud of
those
Boba.
interesting moments, but of that, you know, where you see the way that the Tuskens interact and the relationship that they have.
Well,
and
like
like I
hunters,
said,
I feel like that's the way they survive. They're
Exactly.
they're not like they don't. I don't suspect they have. I mean, they have banthas, which they presumably milk or whatnot. But like,
Yeah.
they're presumably hunters. Like they will hunt for their food. I
And
feel
my favorite part of it was the part at the end where this kind of, I think he's the leader because he had the staff. He essentially gives
Just
Boba
hands him the water.
He gives him the water and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
which because when the kid was there, he wasn't allowed to drink. It's like he wasn't worthy of it. But now that he's done a good thing for the tribe,
Exactly,
hands him
and
the
that's
water.
why it's interesting for two reasons. One, it's setting up how he gains the respect of the indigenous Tusken Raiders,
the Tusken Raiders,
as well as there was this kind of moment. It was kind of unspoken, but the way that he did it, because the Tusken was also still looking at the child, was like, "Listen, I know you killed that thing. Thanks for saving the kid's life." And then he gives him his drink.
Yeah,
that was
very
kind
good.
of like a nice unspoken moment between those two, which was great. Like, you know, and also this kind of honorable moment for Boba where he essentially lets the kid, you know, have the victory.
Yeah,
you know,
and
Boba
also-
killed him, but he lets the kid kind of relish in the celebration of this kind of rite of passage thing for the Tuskens.
Yeah, also-
which leads back to this kind of honorable Boba Fett personality trait that he has.
Did the dog survive or?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if the dog came
Because
back.
If the idea is like, if he could have kind of like run away there, but he like, you know, like he made sure that the kid was all right and whatnot. So yeah, it is showing this honorable
The Rodian
side.
died, though.
Yeah, he died. Honorable side to him, even if he is like kind of captured by the Tuskens.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I really liked it. Should we give our overall thoughts of the
that's
episode?
basically all the
'Cause,
thoughts we can give, 'cause that's basically everything that happens in the
there was,
show.
Like, the fight scene that happened between them and like things like that. But yeah, like lots of little fun details. Overall, as I said at the start, the vibe that the show is like is creating of like kind of like a crime show and like tying it to the backstories as well. We're learning these crucial details about Boba Fett that we've wanted to learn for like 40 years or whatnot. Like I haven't been in their life for 20 years, but like you know what I mean. That's like really interesting. I'm really excited for the show. Like I mean, I've been excited for the show like since it was announced and since they were building up for it. But like after seeing this first episode, I'm way more excited to see where the show can go than when I was like there yesterday. When I'm like, oh yeah, Book of Boba Fett's coming out. That'll hopefully be fun.
Yeah. My overall thoughts are very similar to yours. I really, really love this first episode. You're right. The tone was set up immediately as something that's vastly different from what we've seen in The Mandalorian, but there's a kind of commonality as far as how they're set up and how they're made, which is awesome. Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett is back, and he's awesome, and I'm loving the relationship between him and Fennec Shand. And again, this like crime lord feeling where, and I'm again liking the fact that they're not making him this like unstoppable, invincible character. He's got his moment, he's got his weaknesses, he's got some work to do as far as bettering himself as a leader, that kind of thing. When he's just like, I don't know how this kind of works. The direction by Robert Rodriguez is something I'm very excited to see more of.
Do you know what I didn't mention?
Those fight scenes and that chase that Fennec Shand engages in with these Marauders was really well done. The score.
That's what I was about to say. You were like saying throughout, like, damn, this score is fire. This score is hot.
Because I'm a big score guy. Like literally
He's a high score.
My entire Spotify playlist is just film scores.
Exactly.
I listen to them all the time, and I'm a big fan of the Mandalorian score.
Ludwig
Göransson.
He's back.
He's
doing a good job.
He's one of my favorite composers. He did Mandalorian, but he's also done Black Panther, Creed, that kind of thing. Which is I just love him love him as an artist. So the fact that he's getting more work, and it's really good work as well.
Definitely.
So I'm really enjoying that. I'm super excited for the rest of this show.
Yeah, this show, it's got me. It's really exciting. I mean, like as we said, like a little bit before recording, like we've gotten Star Wars throughout the year. It's been mostly like animated, like Visions.
What did we get? We had Bad Batch,
and
we had Visions.
But it's been about a year since we had our last live action one, and gosh, Star Wars in live action just has like a kind of a more immersive feel.
Because it's what it started out as.
It feels real. Like,
it just feels so much more tangible because that's how we see life.
This show like got me really excited about Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is cool.
We're back.
Star Wars is cool, isn't it? Yeah,
I know. Yeah, and it's just I love the fact that this is essentially the more that we get into this show, the later and later we get as far as the latest timeline that we've seen in Star Wars, because this is based. Oh wait, no, what am I talking about?
Well,
sequels.
There is quite a large gap in between
30 years,
in that period, and so we are learning more. Like The Mandalorian is exploring kind of what's like a new era, a post Return of the Jedi era. So that is true, but it is exciting. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where the future of the show goes, because it could be any direction. It could be more backstory. It could be more of what we're seeing in the crime syndicate on Tatooine. It could be going anywhere, because we don't really know. The trailers are mostly caught up at this point. So
yeah, well, the good thing is that if we're going to get something new in the next episode and the episodes to come, that'll be great. But if it's more of what we're getting now, we'll still be happy, because it's clear that what we have just seen is working for us. So, that's that, guys. Thank you very much for listening to our review and our discussion. That's going to be the show for today.
Just a bit of a quick one first, but
we're going to be back next week for episode 2.
Yeah.
Which is cool. This is something I quickly mentioned. The titles. Right? What was it? A Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yeah. That was kind of hinting mostly towards what's happening. Actually, double meaning.
I just like the fact that, with The Mandalorian, right? It was essentially like kind of like a one-word thing. The passenger, the heiress, the Jedi, that kind of thing. This is a book.
More poetic.
Exactly. So that's what I loved, is that these chapters actually felt like what a chapter would be called in a book.
Yeah.
Not that chapters in books couldn't be called the heiress or the titles that we got in Mandalorian.
Or chapter 1. Chapter 2.
Yeah, but these felt a little bit more tangible, which is awesome.
I like, and it's kind of like a double meaning, because he's a stranger in the strange lands, obviously, in the Tuscans, because he's been like captured and he's not used to this area, and like he's trying to learn and survive. But also he's a stranger to this world of like being a crime boss. He's kind of new here. He's shaking up. He's doing things differently. So
because he's lived in this world before as a mercenary and as a bounty hunter, but he's never been in charge.
He's never been Lord Fett.
Yeah, I loved when they called him
Lord Fett.
Yeah. And I imagine that because of the fact that the present day events basically got cut off after Fennec Shand brings in this mercenary or this marauder.
Yep.
Episode 2 will most likely lead into who hired them. It most likely being the mayor of Mos Espa.
Because that conflict here.
That kind of conflict was set up when the whole tribute thing happened. But anyway, we will wrap it up.
We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna go. We're gonna get home. You guys gotta go home. You've got important things to do, like watch Star Wars again. Watch it all over again.
So thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll be back next week for our review and discussion of episode 2. And we really hope you guys are enjoying the show as is. We're always grateful for you guys and the people who keep watching, because we love doing it every week. And we sometimes talk about the fact that we don't really care if anyone's listening or not. We love doing this.
We have a fun time.
We love doing this regardless. But either way, this episode is going to be available on Apple Podcasts as well as all the audio platforms that we're available on, which will be available in the description below, on YouTube, of course, and also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that kind of thing. And all those links will be in the description below as well. Social media, all that stuff. So, find us there, and that's pretty much it. Michael, any other closing thoughts?
Start to cue the outro. Not too much. Just remember to check us out weekly and watch the Book of Boba Fett with us before each week, so you can join in with us on our spoiler reviews and get a good look at what's happening. And it's exciting to be Star Wars fan again.
It is a good time to be a Star Wars fan, guys.
It's always good.
Yep. This has been
Telling the Odds.